Welcome back to Ablaze, a weekly podcast about epilepsy, by people with epilepsy, for everyone. I'm David Clifford. In this episode, we'll provide some facts about cannabis and debate the future of cannabis in the epilepsy community. If you're new to Ablaze, I just want to state that I'm not a medical expert. I'm just someone that has struggled with the ins and outs of epilepsy for almost 3 decades.
He's not here!
No, I'm here.
Oh, hey.
Look, can we not fill this episode with Cheech and Chong or Dazed and Confused references?
Come on, David. It's all about weed.
But this is a serious subject to many members of our epilepsy community.
Say, man, you got a joint?
No, not on me, man.
It'd be a lot cooler if you did.
Come on, guys. Since the founding of Ablaze, we have gotten hundreds of requests to do an episode on cannabis or medical marijuana. There is just so much confusion about it. There are plenty of reasons why we haven't discussed cannabis on the show. We at Ablaze pride ourselves on being an international community. Each country, as well as states, treat marijuana and its byproducts completely differently. Our friends in Canada just recently made them legal. Though more and more states have legalized it here in America, the federal government still outlaws marijuana and its byproducts as a Schedule I banned substance. The biggest reason we haven't done an episode until now is that marijuana and its derivatives have been politicized to the point where we personally feel neither side actually truly understands their argument, but is just there to oppose the other side. Any show that we could possibly produce on the subject, no matter how long or inclusive, is going to leave some people unfulfilled. Our show was on hiatus for the last few weeks. While we were out, there was a pretty substantial amount of attention paid to marijuana.
The bill is passed.
This morning, marijuana advocates one step closer to national legalization. The Democrat-led House voting to decriminalize the drug and expunge criminal records of marijuana offenders, marking the first time ever Congress took up the issue at a federal level.
That's right. The United States House of Representatives voted to federally legalize marijuana. There is still an uphill battle for people who wish it to be legalized. The legislation still has to face the Senate. Unfortunately, the epilepsy community waits on pins and needles.
Woo, you sure gotta climb a lot of steps to get to this Capitol building here in Washington. Well, I wonder who that sad little scrap of paper is.
I'm just a bill. Yes, I'm only a bill. And I'm sitting here on Capitol Hill.
If cannabis is so political, what's a better way to learn about it than our very own debate?
Welcome to the 2021 debate on medical cannabis and epilepsy. I'm your moderator, Channel 5 News co-anchor, Amy Nunes. I would like to remind all the men on stage that all the microphones are still hot, even if you go to the restroom. On stage left, we have Mr.
Doug.
Doug?
Just Doug. That's all there is, man.
Okay. Doug is a professor of humanities at the University of California at...
Assistant professor? I mean, I don't want to talk about it or anything. Let's just say it's really political or something.
Okay. Well, let's just move on then. On stage right is Rick Defalco.
Nice to meet you, little lady.
Okay. Mr. Defalco is a political pundit and author of Loving Reagan.
He's up there, hopefully looking down on us right now.
And center stage, and the only participant in this debate who is part of the epilepsy community, is David Clifford.
Good evening. Nice to meet you, Amy. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, nice to meet you too. Let's start with opening statements. We've drawn lots backstage, and Doug, you have the floor for the next 2 minutes.
Right on, man. Everybody knows that weed cures epilepsy. It's natural. It's life. It's everything. Look it up.
Thank you, Doug. And for the other minute and 35 seconds?
I yield my time to Mr. Flat Top over there.
Over to you, Mr. Defalco. Your opening statements?
Weed is useless to the epilepsy community. The only people who want access to weed are millennials destined to spend their lives getting high in their parents' basement. We gotta look out for our children.
And Mr. Clifford?
My colleagues have certainly brought up a lot of things to think about. First, weed doesn't cure epilepsy. There is no global cure. For our community, it's all about managing our seizures. We don't want access to weed to do so. We want access to medical-grade cannabinoids.
Wow, the egghead really brought his A game.
Mr. Defalco, I will remind you to keep quiet while others speak. Mr. Clifford, please continue.
These chemicals are harvested from the cannabis plant, which is a cousin to marijuana. They are not the same organism, but they do have the same 2 active ingredients. The first is THC, which provides the psychoactive high in marijuana.
Woohoo.
The second is CBD, which is used by our community to fight seizures. Medical cannabis has a high concentration of CBD and little to no THC. It won't get you high.
Oh.
Our community is not necessarily pro-weed, but just anti-seizures. We should have access to anything and everything that can prevent even one of us from having seizures.
Mr. Defalco, do you believe that medical cannabis should be available to the epilepsy community?
Absolutely not. It's just a gateway drug to the harder stuff. First, young people are smoking pot. The next thing, they're sniffing the cocaine. Then on crack with your children in an alley somewhere.
Doug.
Man, weed should be legalized everywhere. Not just for people with epilepsy or glaucoma or MS or, all the other things that weed fixes. Everyone should know the healing power of the chronic, man.
Mr. Clifford?
Cannabis is already available to a subset of the epilepsy community. In 2018, the Food and Drug Administration approved Epidiolex for people with extreme epilepsies like Dravet syndrome and Lennox-Gastaut syndrome. If future studies show that cannabis can be successful in preventing other epilepsies, we should allow it.
If weed cures epilepsy, why haven't any existing studies shown that?
We don't need studies, man. I've smoked weed every day for 30 years, and you don't see anything wrong with me, right? I mean, do you?
We definitely need tests to show if cannabis works on a larger segment of our community. One of the problems is that in America, marijuana and its derivatives are Scheduled I substances.
Like heroin. Are you seriously suggesting that people out there take heroin to reduce their seizures?
No, of course not. There are already other anti-seizure medications available to the public that are Scheduled I substances. For example, Onfi.
Sounds like a little puppy.
Doug.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, please go on. Come here, little Onfi.
Studies have shown that people are not abusing the existing Scheduled I anti-seizure medications. The problem is that because cannabis is Scheduled I substance, it is already marked by the United States government as having no medicinal value.
Exactly.
We need to work to get access to it for testing. Without tests, we can't tell if or who it helps.
They're telling me we have to break. We'll be right back after these messages. And we're back. I wonder, Mr. Clifford, have you ever tried cannabis for your own seizures?
Yes, actually I have.
Right on, dude. I knew you partook.
It's not like that, Doug.
What? Are you going to tell us you didn't inhale?
I didn't, actually. I tried edibles for a few months. It didn't work for me. My medical team suggests that it was because of a lesion in my brain.
A lesion? What's that?
It's a tiny scar in my brain tissue. My doctors think that the cannabinoid receptors in the area were destroyed. On the other hand, who knows? Cannabis doesn't work for everybody. And that's why we need testing.
Can I expound on that?
We're getting to the end of the debate. Any last words, gentlemen? Starting with you, Mr. Defalco.
America. Let's get real. These bozos want to steal your children away from you. If we gave them what they want, your children will be running the streets, hooked on crack. America doesn't negotiate with terrorists.
And Doug?
Don't listen to these suits, man. They know it works. They want to keep cannabis away from you and your family. It's just me, Doug. And I suggest that every person with epilepsy should just jump ship from the big pharma ride, man. You don't want them pushing that drug through your veins, man. And what's the thing that's natural? Weed, of course. Pick it up. Look it up. You know what's going on.
Mr. Clifford, we only have a few minutes more.
As a member of the epilepsy community, I just wish that both of these gentlemen and the people they represent would stop politicizing cannabis to fund their own agendas. The further it is politicized, the further average people don't understand what is at stake. People's lives. There are real people behind this debate. People that belong to both the left and the right. If you would just work with our community rather than talking above us.
That's all we have for tonight. I would like to thank all of our participants here tonight. For more details about cannabis and its effects on the epilepsy community and people in your neighborhood, catch me and my literary co-host, Walker Reed, right here on Channel 5 News. Thank you, America, and stay safe.
At Brain Ablaze, we are neither for or against weed. We are for medical testing on any substance that could help our seizures. If medical marijuana can prevent seizures at a grand scale, we're all for it. However, to prove that it actually can, requires more medical testing. Medical testing that cannot be performed as few labs can work with Schedule 1 substances. Few doctors want to put their reputation on the line to perform tests on a scheduled substance. Customers are currently sold products that contain CBD without testing or regulation. We need access to the truth, and let's let science determine the path moving forward. We would love to hear any of your comments or questions regarding this or any of our other episodes. You can always reach out to us via email at social@brainablaze.com or Twitter @brainablaze. If you like this episode, consider subscribing or even helping us by providing a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you download your content. One small click really does help. See you next time.